Hello, welcome to High Vibration Living, Leaders Bridging Inner and Outer Peace. I'm your host, Leah Skurdal, a visionary thought leader and resilience guide. And this is a special bonus session with my guest, Pilkington, a transformational spiritual counselor. And welcome, we're having this bonus session today that is part of the Wellness Universe program, although we're in a different platform. So my intention today is to create this container of safety and belonging where we can bring our highest and best selves and have a conversation about how do we show up in our lives as our best selves when we're not always feeling that way. And over the next year, we're looking at different ways that we can influence our heart to bring our highest and best selves so that we can send out ripples of well-being to uplift others around us. And in that way, we are leaders, whether we are a corporate trainer, an educator, parent, youth leader, we lead in many different ways. So how can we lead in our best way? We'll be looking at different aspects of that. The Wellness Universe offers us programs like this because we believe that happy, healthy, healed humans lead to peace globally. And that is my mission, to create such a solid foundation that of healed humans by starting with our own hearts, starting within, that we are uplifting those around us. We offer these programs free by donation so that everyone can join. I'll post the link to make a donation if you'd like in the chat. You can do that anytime during the session or after. To create our program, our space of acceptance and safety and belonging, I'm asking you to be fully present, to suspend certainty, to practice our guidelines of compassion, kindness, and confidentiality and brevity. If someone goes on too long, I might cut you off. But this is being recorded, so what people share in this now moment will come on the recording as well. So you're invited to leave your camera on or off as you prefer. So each month during our sessions, we have a deepening exercise and an opportunity for reflective journaling. So I invite you to grab your journal and a pen, and we'll have an opportunity for you to reflect more deeply on the conversation that we're having. So first, before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to offer a centering prayer, just to get us fully present in this moment. So whatever it took for you to get here, to listen to these words, let that go, and come into this moment. Bring your attention from your head to your heart. And imagine that you can breathe through your heart as if you have a nose in the center of your chest. And breathe as you inhale, you push your diaphragm down. And as you exhale, you pull your diaphragm back up. Let's do that again. Inhale, pushing your diaphragm down towards your pelvis, and exhale, pulling your diaphragm up. And now breathing down through your pelvis, through your legs, through your feet, through the floor, through the layers into the earth, as if you have tree roots growing out of your feet all the way down into the earth. And find that grounding, And now bringing that energy of grounding back up through your roots, through your legs, through your torso, out the top of your head and around the outside, like the canopy of a tree. So here we are, fully present now in this moment. So I'd like you to take a moment now also to think about what is a word that you are bringing into this activity. What is a word that you're bringing into this now moment? And my word is resilience. So I'm Leah. I'm Leah Skurdal, and I bring resilience. Carol.
Yes, my word that just comes up is inspiration. And it's about it brings in gratitude and love and appreciation for all that is.
Yes. So all the listeners, I invite you to find that word for you. What are you bringing into this sacred container? Okay. Well, I am so pleased to be able to introduce my dear friend and my colleague, Carol Pilkington, a transformational spiritual counselor and teacher. Today, we're talking about the trauma of being human. Anxiety and depression are the symptoms. As a transformational spiritual counselor and teacher, Carol Pilkington works with high-achieving, performing men and women who are experiencing anxiety and depression and grief and loss due to feeling that they're not doing enough and not carrying the world on their shoulders, and people who find it difficult to ask for support. These individuals are living with the urgency of the life and death principle as a burden. Carol shows them how to live from joy, love, and compassion, minus the burden. I'm going to post Carol's contact information in the chat. Carol, thank you so much for being here today and bringing this deep conversation to the forefront. So, the trauma of being human. How do we deal with that fact that we don't get to control everything?
It's so true. You know, we come into the world predisposed to our environment and the people that are around us, and the norms of society, and we absorb all that. And it's to no fault of anyone's. And this takes years and years and years and years and years of conditioning that we all bring into the world with us. And we don't have any control over that. From the moment that we come into the world, we don't have control over any of that. Now, there are some people that have a belief that they chose to come into this world with these particular circumstances, but I don't know that directly. I don't have that direct experience, and most people don't. And so we don't come into the world with a manual on how to be human. Right?
Right, I know.
None of us do. And so we just do the best that we can with what we have. And so when we can see life from that perspective, it can actually take some of the pressure off for us to feel that we have to know everything right in every single moment.
You mean I don't have to know all the answers?
You do not. You do not. And the more that we admit that we don't know what we don't know, we have much more freedom to be. And I used to feel like I had to know everything. I had to know the right answer to everything right at my fingertips. And it created such anxiety in me that I could barely function. And it created a lot of angst outside of me because I would have to feel like I had to lie about what I knew and make stuff up that wasn't true. And that's a heavy burden to bear, because then you're living a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. And when I came to start doing this work and I realized that I'm really no different than anybody else. We're all living from this fear of being found out that we're liars. We're lying to ourselves. And then we lie to one another about what we think we know. And when that burden was lifted off of me, if it was like an elephant was lifted off of me, and I could breathe a little bit easier, that I didn't have to know everything all the time. I could just say I don't know and be okay with not knowing. And that brings in the nature of uncertainty, because we can never know what's going to happen from one minute to the next.
So that's a big question. How do we dance with uncertainty? That's something that I'm really working on lately, is how do we dance with uncertainty? How do we then be our best selves in our uncertain world?
It's really knowing and living from the place of knowing that we don't have all the answers, that we can't know or know ahead of time what's going to happen. There's so many what if scenarios that we can go through, but there's always one more that we haven't been able to capture and that we haven't been able to think of, because there are so many unknowns. But when we can rest in the knowing that we can't know everything, truly rest in that knowing, then we can open ourselves up to the mystery of life and be okay with the groundlessness of uncertainty and approach it from, well, what's the wonder of it actually?
Okay, but
I can see your wheels
I can
turning,
see
like
my wheels
the
turning.
mind is working.
Okay, but think about all of the crazy things that are going on in the world right now. Feels like we should have some answers to be able to deal with, well, what do we do with all these problems? And that makes people, I think, feel anxious and depressed, as you talked about. So how does anxiety and depression show up? How does that present when we are faced with this? Oh my gosh, there are so many things I can't control. How do you see with your people, with your clients, how do you see people showing up with anxiety and depression?
Well, I actually asked them, what would you do if you had the ability to change this, that, or the other thing that you keep worrying about? And they really oftentimes don't have the answer. So I really help people understand from an experiential perspective that they can't change the world. The world does not change in mass. We can only take responsibility and control our own actions and our own reactions for things, our own emotions, our own feelings for things. And when we begin to take responsibility for ourselves, it ripples out into the world. Change happens from within, one individual at a time.
Yeah. Okay. So if somebody is feeling anxious and depressed, and they want to change that in their hearts, now what do we do about that?
First of all, it's not about actively changing anything per se. It's about recognizing what's coming up and allowing what's coming up in any given moment, to look at and to feel the worry and to feel the frustration and just see it, because something happens at the moment of observation. The moment that we see something, so it changes because we're bringing awareness to it, and we're becoming more and more present to what is actually going on within ourselves in that very moment. And the more we can do that, it's simple, but it's not easy to do. It's like a muscle that has to be worked all the time, you know?
So that observation muscle of, okay, I see this, I see this, and I feel this. So I'm observing my feeling. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling something. And then what?
Then it begins to release and dissolve, because you're bringing total awareness to that moment, and that begins to decrease. And the more we understand and really know that we cannot change anything around us, we can't even change ourselves, let alone someone else. Change happens. Change just happens in the moment that we bring awareness to something.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that just by bringing my awareness, my focused observation onto the feeling, onto the situation, that in itself helps that feeling dissipate. It helps that feeling lessen because I'm observing it.
That's exactly right. And this
So,
is what I work with my clients on all the time. Observe. When you can practice observing, even if you sit down for 5 to 10 minutes a day and just observe what is coming up in that moment, you can build the strength of that muscle to be able to bring that kind of awareness throughout your day, because our moods fluctuate throughout the day and we don't even realize it. It's always happening, but the more awareness that we can bring to it, the more it will fall away.
so strengthening my observation muscle by giving myself space to be in observation and say, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is what I'm noticing right now. This is what I'm anxious about right now. This is what I'm aware of right now. And just that in itself will strengthen my
Yes.
observation muscle and help me have less stress,
Yes.
or
And
help
it's not
me
even and it's not even the object of what you're stressing about. It's bringing awareness to stress, to the experience of anxiety in and of itself, because it really doesn't matter what the object of the anxiety is or the object of the stress is. It's the nature of stress itself. It's the nature of anxiety itself. When we bring awareness to that in fullness and wholeness, then it will begin to dissipate.
So in the past, I've heard you use the words isness, accepting the isness of the situation. Okay, this is what it
Yes.
is.
Yes. So basically what I'm saying is acceptance is a big part of allowing the world to be as it is, for another to be as they are. We can't change another. We can't change the world. There's a lot going on. And the more that we can accept that we can't change anyone or the world, that the only change that can happen is when we take responsibility for ourselves, it can give us a lot of freedom to be, a lot of more room to just be.
So if I'm in the place of acceptance of, okay, I'm not in agreement. I don't think this is how it should be, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm letting go of my resistance so that my gut can relax.
Yes.
Because I'm just even talking about this, I notice my gut feels tight.
Yeah,
Feel this resistance and like, well, just because it is doesn't mean that I want it to be that way. Well, I don't, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is that it is, and I can observe that it is, and go to that place of, okay, now what? There is your place of power and choice, right?
that's right. Exactly. When we concentrate fully on what we know we have control over and take responsibility for that, we open ourselves up to a lot of possibility, and we are more creative and we're less isolated, and we attract more joy into our lives when we come from that place of um, clarity about what we know we control in any given moment.
Okay, so what I heard you say is, again, that having that moment of clarity about this is what I can control, this is what I cannot control, helps me let go of my resistance to what is, helps me be in acceptance of what is, and from there I have the power of choice.
That's
Okay,
right.
now I can choose what to do next.
Exactly.
Okay. So this place of acceptance seems like a pivot point for problem solving.
Yes, we are problem solvers. But what happens oftentimes is that we think we are the problem. We become the
Ooh,
problem.
ooh, ouch. Say more about that.
Well, if I'm anxious and I'm feeling like I can't control something that's outside of me, don't I become the problem?
It's my fault.
That's right. It's
It's my fault that I
my
can't
fault.
control it.
Why can't I do that?
Why
What's
can't I
wrong
fix
with
that?
me?
Yes.
So we become the problem. But when we can see that we can't control that which is outside of ourselves and fully know that and accept it, yes, there's going to be resistance. See the resistance. And the resistance will begin to fall away as well. So when we can see it all in its totality, there's a kind of space that happens, breathing room occurs when we can just allow ourselves just to be and take responsibility for our own feelings and what we control in any given moment.
So again, to reiterate, what I'm hearing you say is there's this place of power and freedom when we acknowledge that here's where I have control. Here's my choice. Here's where I can choose. Uh, and I can let go of the rest. So I love that. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. Um, I have a challenge with letting go
Ah,
because it will release organically and on its own. We don't have to even give that energy to, I got to let it go, because that
oh,
creates more pressure. Because if I
oh.
can't let it go, then I've got this other burden of and angst around, I can't let it go. Why can't I let it go? It will go, it will fall away on its own.
So I could get my panties in a bundle about needing to control the letting go.
Right.
Oh, that sounds like me. Well, Carol, so many people in our culture are using medications, antidepressants, and
Mm,
anxiety medication, and there's no judgment or shame about that. That's just
mhm.
what it is. But I read an article about the comment that some physicians hand out antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds like aspirin, and that we've
Yeah,
become a drug addicted society. Well,
that's right.
would this philosophy of acceptance of, okay, this is what I can control, this is what I cannot control, would that help people who want to not be on medications? Would that help them cope better?
Absolutely. And I would say thrive rather than just cope. Um, I have a client that was advised to go on medication quite a bit. Our society's become about diagnose and subscribe, or diagnose and prescribe, rather than talking about what's going on, what is happening inside of ourselves. And this client absolutely refused. And in our work together, she has taken on the responsibility of owning how she's feeling, understanding what she's feeling, so that she can move through it. And she's thriving. She's living a more present time life, being really clear about who she is, where she is, and how she's experiencing life in every given moment, as well as being able to see others more clearly. Because when we can see ourselves more clearly, we can see others more clearly.
Mhm. Yeah, when we can see
And
ourselves more clearly, we can see others more clearly. Mhm.
yes, and when we can allow for compassion within ourselves, for our own humanity, we can do that for another.
Ah. Oh, wow. So the more compassion I can have for myself, the more compassion I open to have for others.
Yes,
Sometimes it's easier for me to have compassion for others than it is for myself. But if I open my heart to have more compassion for myself, then I will automatically have more compassion for others as well.
yes,
Yeah. Sometimes as caregivers, we we get maybe bogged down in being more compassionate towards others and towards ourselves. And yet that that place of acceptance, like, oh, okay then. Um, this isn't working for me right now.
yeah.
And I don't have to be angry, but I can be frustrated. But like, okay, I am frustrated right now. Oh, for example, technology. Technology can be a frustration for me. And well, I see that I'm getting frustrated about this. How can I take a breath and be present and be more clear-minded, so that, because my resistance and my frustration is not helping the situation. So that's just one small example of accepting, like, okay, it's not working. And then helping that would just getting to that place helps me move forward into the next right action.
Exactly. That's exactly it. When we see, and when we stop forcing an issue and see it and accept it for what it is, then it opens us up to more possibilities. We can ask for help. We can you know, release it and just say, this is not working for me. I can't do this. And see what other possibilities come up.
So at the core of the trauma of being human is this acceptance that we are fallible, that we are finite beings, that we are human beings, and at the same time, we are connected to the infinite. We are part of the infinite divine love expressing through us. So we're meant to be imperfect and not all powerful. And yet, here we are, these evolving beings with as divine love expressing uniquely through each of us.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about that?
I feel that we come into the world, into this physical human existence to learn lessons. And we are part of a larger whole of consciousness. We are consciousness and we are part of a larger existence of consciousness. The divine, excuse me, let me take some water here. And we are divine. We are cut from that one cloth, if you will. That's my experience. I'm talking from my own personal experience. And so if that's so, then if I'm evolving, it is evolving. And it's a cyclical process. I evolve, it evolves. And the more information that I receive and experience, it does too.
So if God is evolving through us, through our experience, then the more I grow and change and evolve, then the more God gets to experience through me.
Yes.
Aha. So I'm supposed to be imperfect.
And
Okay,
yes, it's a perfect system.
the
You know,
perfect
this
system.
perfection is there's perfection in the imperfection. It's kind
Okay.
of the um paradox of being human.
The paradox of being human. That is a word that I have actually used before. That is
Hmm.
curious. Well, so if we want to practice ways to get to this place of acceptance of the isness of, okay, this is what it is, and so I can let go of my need to control. How do we do that? What are different ways? We're going to look at different ways of getting to that place of acceptance. So
First of all, we have to acknowledge that we can't control everything and acknowledge where we are and what we're feeling. That's the first thing. We have to acknowledge that there's an issue that we're or a challenge that we're having that we did not necessarily create, but we have it in our hands, and we're feeling the effects of it. So that's the first thing, bringing awareness and acknowledgement to whatever the it is, and then acknowledging it and holding it fully and seeing it fully. Because in the act of seeing something fully, it begins to dissolve.
so by looking at it, well, and we know that actually from quantum physics,
Yes,
that our quantum physics scientists are telling us once we observe something, it changes. So
that's
when we
right.
bring our awareness and our observation to this situation, this feeling, this thought, this acknowledgement, that gives it a moment of change.
That's exactly right. That's from the double slit experiment,
Mhm.
Heisenberg's double slit experiment.
Okay. So another way to get to this place of acceptance is to process through conversation, which is what we're doing now. To process through talking with a friend or mentor. And do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, when we the it's actually helped me to make things more real when I actually verbalize it. But some people might want to journal it, write it down, ask questions of like, what is the nature of the anxiety? What is the nature of stress? And not say it as what is the nature of my stress, because then we personalize it and
Ooh.
internalize it even more. But what is the nature of the anxiety? What is the nature of dot, dot, dot? It puts it out there for us to observe and to take a look at so that it doesn't become mine and stay
Ah,
mine. That doesn't mean that things from personal nature aren't going to come up. Of course, we're going to put our going to come from our own experience and feelings. But when we put the question out in those terms, it makes it less personal.
All right, I am posting your connection in the chat. I find the chat here. There it is. So if you would like to connect with Carol as a trusted friend and spiritual advisor to talk about what is your place of acceptance, then Carol is one option to pursue, to look at. Another way that we can, besides talking it out, another way that we can process our feelings is something that I've done for years, that is using a Qigong movement. Qigong is an ancient form of energy movement, and I'm not a proficient Qigong master, but there's this activity that I have used for years and years and years that has helped me so much. I wanted to share it with you as a way to process our energy and process your feelings. So here is, I invite you to, you can stand up if you'd like, or you can sit down as you like. And I'm going to step back, and to use one hand in front of your throat, maybe one hand in front of your belly, with your palms facing inward, and then you slowly move your hands in a circle, in an up and I want to say an oblong movement, very, very slowly. And you can go all the way to the top of the head, all the way down to your tailbone, again using this slow movement. And you can put your problem or your concern or your feeling here in the middle of this energy movement. So I invite you to take a couple minutes right now. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. I'm going to watch the timer, and we're going to do this movement for 2 minutes. Just moving the energy. And I notice is it gets me out of my head and into my body. Because most of my problems happen in my head. Notice your breathing. So again, can you inhale and push your diaphragm down to your pelvis, and exhale and pull your diaphragm up? While you're doing this slow movement of getting the energy out of your head, in traditional Chinese medicine, acceptance is the feeling that goes with digestion. So to me, acceptance is like digesting what is. Okay, now we're going to come back to do some reflective journaling. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to journal. And actually, I might put I'm questioning whether I should put the recording on pause or whether I should time out that 5 minutes for you to write. We're gonna we're gonna let you have 5 minutes here to write. So grab your journal and a piece of paper, and a pen. And here are the questions to journal about. I am going to put them in the chat. Carol, did you? Let's see, where we go here. There we go, cheat sheet. All right, here are your questions. What is something that you're feeling anxious about? What is something that you're worried and anxious about? And then identify what part of that situation you do have control over versus feeling powerless over the whole state of the world. And then what is something you can do for yourself? What action can you take? And then if you'd like to, we'll come back in a minute, in 5 minutes. I'm going to put the timer on for 5 minutes. And we'll come back and chat about what we've thought about. One more minute. Actually, that went by fast, 43 seconds. Okay. Wow, that's 5 minutes. That went fast. I got more to say. Okay, then. So, what do you have anything you want to share? Should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So what I noticed about is what I feel like this undercurrent of worry and anxiousness is, will I have enough money for the next 20 years? Can I earn enough income for the next 20 years, the next 40 years? I'm probably going to live to be over 100. So, will I have enough money? And there's just this undercurrent of worry about that. Okay. So, what do I have control over is the products and services that I offer, the people I reach out to. I have control over the thoughts that I tell myself, and the self-defeating, oh, why bother? You can't do it anyway. That kind of nonsense. Yeah. What I do not have control over is who buys my products and services, what the stock market does that might influence whether people have enough money to buy my products and services. I do not control other people's decisions. I think about my kids, and something that I can do for myself is what I call this the daily affirmations. So I speak out loud to myself, and kind of in that way of acceptance, like, okay, so this morning, I think of a good example, but all right, so this morning I'm not at playing 100%, and I feel a little bit better by acknowledging that. Okay, so I'm noticing that actually that pain in my hip is gone. I'm noticing that I have more energy than I did yesterday. So I just talk to myself, and I notice that in an upward spiral of how I talk to myself. That's something that I can do for myself, and that uplifts me. So that's what I learned out of this exercise. And actually it was helpful to, like, instead of taking it from this general overarching big problem to making it more specific. That was helpful.
Oh, that's great. Well, what came to mind for me was I would get up in the morning, and before I started my day, I would feel anxious about who I was going to meet, what I was going to say, what they were going to say, what they were going to think. And when I was told one time that what another person says or thinks about me is none of my business, it blew me away, because I don't have any control. No matter what I say or do, we have it. Our words have an effect on others. Our actions have an impact on our environment, but we don't have any control over how another receives it, perceives it, thinks about it, what they do about it. And when I heard that, it felt like the anxiety was washed away.
Freedom.
There was so much freedom and space. And I could take a whole breath without feeling like it was being stopped, you know? And I recognize that the only thing that I have control over is what I feel about something. And knowing whether or not whatever I say is going to create a problem for others and myself, and to be more aware of what comes out of my mouth, not to be willy-nilly about my opinions and assertions. And it really made such a difference because it made me more aware of what comes out of my mouth. I don't have to say everything that's in my mind, right? I don't have to express an opinion just to express an opinion. And if it's going to move something forward, then possibly I can say it. I have to also read the room of the people that I'm with to know whether or not there's an opening and a listening for whatever it is that I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that made me more aware of my own actions and take responsibility for the things that I do and say. And that's what I have control over.
That's what I have control over. And I also have control over bringing my attention from my head to my heart.
Yes.
And listening with my heart, listening with the ears of my heart, so that when divine love wants to express through me, I'm in the listening phase of allowing that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Carol, thank you so much for taking time today to chat with me. I have put some links in the chat. We have a link to make a donation for the Wellness Universe and that is shared with me, and I share it with some refugees in Uganda, helping them grow a fish pond. And to connect with me, to also connect with our Facebook group in between our conversations here. We can, we'll post, we'll continue this conversation on acceptance in the Facebook group. And then our next meeting of our next gathering of high vibration leaders, bridging inner and outer peace, the regular schedule is the 4th Wednesday of the month, 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And the link is in the chat. And the next session features Marisa Ferrara talking about conflict, transforming conflict into a deeper connection. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And Carol, thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it. And it went so fast.
It did go so fast. All right. Take care. Have a fabulous rest of the day.
You too. Bye now.